will mean that we're actually tilting at windmills here tonight. So I certainly think I am going to support the vote against the night flights, but in the long term, I think there is no future for Manston, and there is no future for airports like Manston.
Thank you. Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Chair. If we have a unique version of the Tory party over here, we certainly have the banana splits over there. I'd like to correct some of the mistakes that are being made on the other side. Firstly, that cargo aircraft will be carrying loadmasters, and so it's quite possible a loadmaster might be injured in the course of his activities, rather than actually crew, as pointed out by Councillor Harrison, who's quite correct. The councillors opposite seem to have a nostalgia for carts and horses, and some of the facts are incorrect. Certainly we're seeing over time, particularly as you've seen with the emphasis on building Boris Island, which I believe is a daft idea in the first place, the demand for actually increased air traffic activity over the coming decades. And that could be certainly passenger numbers. We're seeing at the moment what's happening in the UK is that we are actually losing passengers to Charles de Gaulle and to Schiphol to actually operate to the Far East. There's a huge demand for a Far Eastern hub somewhere in Europe, and we're not actually satisfying that. That's number one. Number two is cargo. There's the increased demand. Thank you, gentlemen. The increased demand for cargo as well. On the Southend side and Stansted side, I happened to be sitting over Southend the other day. I had to orbit twice while an Airbus came in from EasyJet, another one came in from Air Arran. Southend is 51 minutes away from London with a high-speed train where we're not much more than 60 minutes from London if we get a Manston Parkway station. So all in all, it is, I think, ludicrously naive to say that air traffic is going to disappear over the next 10 to 20 years. Certainly advances in technology are going to see quieter aircraft, and we're seeing that already with the new Boeing series, and we're going to see new forms of freight transportation, particularly with airships. Huge amount of investment's gone into airships too. So Manston is there and has an opportunity. And one final thing is I don't believe you can close Manston down. Can anybody confirm that one? No, thank you, Councillor Harrison, because of its commitment to the Ministry of Defence. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Johnston. Because of its strategic implications, unfortunately, we will not be closing Manston down and actually turning it into a Euro park, or even perhaps an opportunity for counts and horses to be dragged around the runway with some naive green future which is envisaged opposite. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Chair. Have you finished, Councillor Moores? Thank you. I'm just a bit disappointed, Chair, because we did hear from Councillor Gideon. She didn't give me any indication as to how Councillor Kirby might have voted or argued tonight had he been here. And I am disappointed in that because, of course, I won't know whether to vote for him in future, will I? I don't know what his views are. But there's one thought which occurred to me while listening to the points made opposite, really, the Conservative position. It's been made quite clear, and I think we're grateful for that. What came to mind was a saying, I think it was one of your Conservative heroes, actually. I think it was Norman Lamont, but I was very young at the time, so I might be wrong. He had an expression, I think, that unemployment was a price worth paying.
Yeah.
And it seems to me what the Conservative side is saying here tonight, to the people of Ramsgate, of course, not to anybody else, is that night flights are a price worth paying because of the benefits. Now, I don't know whether Councillor Wise accepts the characterisation of being Norman Lamont, or whether they actually accept that. I think it would be useful if one of them got up and explained, are they saying it's a price worth paying? And is it the case, as with unemployment, as long as it happens to somebody else?
Thank you. Councillor Wise. No, I'll rule it out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councillor Everett's points really are, well, you can call them that. I've got another word for them, but what I think the people of Thanet are looking to from us here in this chamber is leadership. And yes, admittedly, it is going to cause some difficulties for people who live under that flight path. But one thing that has been missing from all of this is some facts and figures about just how many people in Thanet don't have work. And for all the people that don't have a decent job, I would say that there's an awful lot of people who've got jobs that are perhaps not what they expected when they went through the early part of their lives and what their families hoped for their children. Looking at some of the figures nationally, I think we have twice the unemployment levels of Kent, and we have 50% more than the rest of the UK. Some of our wards, looking at this, some figures which, admittedly for October last year, but I'm sure they haven't got any better. 17.4% in Cliftonville West, 14.6 in Margate Central, 9.3 in Eastcliff, 7.7 in Central Harbour, and those don't include the people who are on long-term benefits, where some of these figures are quite staggering. 20% of people in Margate Central, 17 in Cliftonville West. Those are the people who I believe need our support. I do believe that people who have what they have in the leafy suburbs and their opportunity to go on holidays and have all the nice things in their houses should, because I thought this is what you said, the people who are affluent should ensure that the people who are not affluent have their fair share. But it seems when it comes down to the realities,
Councillor Wise,
you're not prepared to accept
can you
it.
address the chair? Because if you're addressing that side, they're bound to answer you back, aren't they? So don't do it. You speak to the chair.
What I was going to do next, what I was going to say next, Mr. Chairman, is I just want to look at the front bench where I'm looking at doesn't work. I believe Mrs. Fenner works. Retired.
What's people's...
Has a job.
Councillor White, what's this to do?
These are people who have...
What is the employment status of the members over there to do with Manston Airport?
Clearly can travel out of Manston Airport. They are... We are the people who are supporting those who do not have. I thought that's what they did. It turns out it's what we did do, and that is why I am supporting Manston Airport. And if it takes night flights to help give some of these people work, then I believe that's what we need to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've sat here tonight and listened to this party political football match that's been going on. And as an independent here tonight, and I won't dwell on that, but as an independent here tonight, I think that, to me, one of the real important things about this, and we've heard so much about it, is jobs. Everyone keeps talking about jobs. Well, I believe in jobs. I believe that every man and woman's got a right to have a job, and if we can create jobs, that would be a great thing for Thanet. We are, of course, probably the most deprived area in the South East. We really do need jobs. Now, if the airport could produce 3,000 jobs, I would morally be obliged to vote for the night flights. But the truth of the matter is, the reality of it is, I doubt if it will produce more than about 30 jobs, will it? But what I'd also like to mention, Mr. Chairman, in this party political football match that we've got here tonight, which I would rather have liked to have seen it as a free vote for everybody, we've got, I'm afraid, so much being said by the party on my right about they've got a newfound belief in creating jobs, which is wonderful. And when they come from a party at the moment who are putting more people out of work than we can remember for a long time, sounds a little bit hypocritical when that word comes back again. And also this morning, Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether their conscience are getting at them, but they're talking about Westminster City Council, a Conservative council, offloading half of their homeless down to Thanet. Where are we going to find the jobs from? Maybe it's their conscience that's getting at them.
Thank you. Councillor Sandra Hart.
Thank you, Chair. Brilliant, Councillor King. Absolutely wonderful. I've sat here, council after council after council, and all we get is nasty, personal remarks. Okay? This is a debating council. We're meant to be debating the night flights, not making personal remarks across the chamber. I think I've sat here on 6, 8 councils, 4 councils, and every one it's got personal. I'm making this talk tonight because I'm absolutely disgusted by your attitude across the chamber to people that are working in the same environment as you are, helping our residents and trying to make Margate a better place. We are for the airport. We want the airport to work, but not at the cost of people that will be deprived by sleep. It just wouldn't work that way for our residents. Okay? Thank you.
Now, have we any more speakers before we go to the seconder? Councillor Grove.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I must commend Councillor Harton's statement that she just made, and I totally agree with her. If the two parties in front of me stopped blowing each other up or trying to blow each other up, and if they worked as hard as what they do blowing each other up and got on with discussing things properly, we'd have had this debate over and done with ages ago. As far as jobs are concerned, there's a no-no at the airport. As Councillor King said, Westminster Council are thinking of shipping half their housing down here. Where are we going to put them? Where are we going to employ them? Half the farm labourers around the countryside which I represent are Eastern Europeans and not English. They're not employed. So as far as I'm concerned, I should be voting for no night flights, because as far as I'm concerned, night flights don't bring tourism to the area. Bananas don't walk round the Turner Centre. That's as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard lots of arguments for and against the introduction of night flights at Manston. And the fact is that night flights are and will remain a very emotive subject. And more so if you live under the flight path, as does most of Ramsgate. It is not at all surprising that 73% of the consultation respondents said no to night flights. I would like to point out that this was the largest number of responses ever received during a council consultation. The effects of noise and sleep disturbance are woefully underestimated in Infratil's proposal. A cargo carrier 747 flying a few hundred feet overhead at 3 in the morning can be guaranteed almost to wake the dead. The residents of Ramsgate cannot, in all honesty, be expected to put up with that night after night. It is totally unacceptable to expect them to do so. Manston is basically in the wrong place. We have 3 major airports in southern England: Heathrow, Gatwick and Stansted, all in close proximity to London. And a new runway at any of these airports, or a Boris Island, will completely finish Manston as a viable airport. This is economic reality. The fact that Infratil have put Manston up for sale indicates they have at long last realised this. The stark fact is the airport is not financially viable with or without night flights, and this is borne out by the departures of passenger companies Eurojet and Flybe. Both tried and failed to make a go of it. Infratil's predictions of thousands of jobs and economic success ring increasingly hollow. Infratil's master plan is a couple of years old, and its predictions of millions of passengers and thousands of tons of freight are already well out of step with reality. Whilst I will continue to support a daytime airport, that's between 7 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock at night, that's 16 hours, I cannot support night flights and ask you to vote to support the Cabinet's recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hart.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm sorry I'm not wearing a cloth cap and denims and what have you, and I have to drive a nice car and live in a nice house, you know. I'm guilty of that, Chairman. I've worked damned hard with these hands, as many people have on this side. I stood well up. And not only that, Chairman, I've worked in environments that he has no idea of, in cold, damp, noisy environments, and I've worked damned hard and intellectually as well. And when that ended, Chairman, I didn't sit on a chair at Ladbrokes. I got my butt into gear and I represented my community, and I have done every day since. So that's that. I'm sorry we're not all in denim and cloth caps. I'm sorry about that. However, Chairman, one thing that I was very, very much committed to is the residents in the place where I live. I represent a place in Cliftonville West. I represent one of the most deprived wards with all the negative aspects that have been pointed to tonight. And I will fight like cat and dog to make the things happen in Cliftonville West. And no one can say I damn well haven't. I've done my damnedest, and I will continue to do with my colleagues and my colleagues in close wards. We're working hard, as you know only too well, Chairman, to make things happen for the people unemployed in that ward. Nobody works harder. And I will not be tarred with a brush that we're anti-jobs or anti-creating jobs in Thanet. Simply untrue. What I do is love the district in which I live. I love the environment in which I live. I love spending my weekends enjoying that environment, and I love my grandchildren who occasionally have to sleep overnight in Ramsgate at grandparents' houses. I've got a nephew who sleeps under the flight path, and I will not condemn him to sleepless nights. I will not do it, Chairman. I call on everybody in this chamber to support this recommendation. It protects residents from absolutely awful conditions where they will lose sleep. And I've witnessed in the last year someone who has a family member who, for other reasons, loses sleep at night. And I've seen the weight drop off that person. I've seen that person be incredibly ill. And I've seen that person fighting back. But it's no good when you don't get a good night's sleep, Chairman. I'm very, very sorry. Unfortunately, the economic benefits of these proposals sadly do not match up to the environmental damage and the effect it will have on the residents that we represent. And for that reason, Chairman, I will be voting against night flights. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, we're going to move to the vote, and it's...
Chairman, can I just... Sorry, I know I was too late in the thing. I just needed to clarify in order for me to vote, because I misunderstood something Councillor Paul said, and until I get that clear, I can't vote. I did. No, I misunderstood that Manston's in the wrong place. I'm just glad it was there in the war, or else none of us would be here now.
Right, to continue. We're going to the vote, and we're on agenda item 3. Councillor Campbell. That's very kind. I repeat, agenda item 3, and that's 5.1, and we've got 1, 2 and 3. And what we said at the beginning, I would take these separately. So in the first instance, we are voting on 1. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against? Are there any abstentions? So that's carried. Number 1 is carried. Now, number 2. All those in favour, please show.
That's 30 again.
Okay.
Yep.
Against? We haven't got any abstentions.
Yeah, there can't be any abstentions on that because everyone's voted.
I'll ask for it. So who, was it carried then?
It's carried. It's carried. It's carried.
Number 2 is carried.
Just clarification. Sorry, you don't want me to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it. They are not supporting the daytime operation at Manston now. Amazing.
We move on to number 3. All those in favour, please show. Against? Abstentions? It's carried.
21.
It's carried.
Oh, Sandy's put his hand up as well. Yes, 21.
Still
And
carried.
it's carried, yeah.
Number 3 is carried.